call to you, Mr. Pahinui. That's Martin Pahinui on the album Ho'olohe. Thank you, Martin, for that song, C-A-T, Popoki, makes a cat. If you would like to call and share an opinion following up on last night's program, our telephone number is 524-1080. The lines are open. What else is happening? I've already told you about, for me, very disappointing news that the U.S. Attorney's Office is dropping the cases against the CIA, or the people in the CIA for their murder of people that they had in their custody in Abu Ghraib and in Guantanamo. And Eric Holder announced that they would not be pursuing these cases. We do have a caller, and so we'll take that call. The telephone number here is 524-1080. Aloha, caller.
Hello?
Yes, hello, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller. Okay, I'm not able to get the caller. Hello, can you hear me, caller? Okay.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air, caller. I can hear you very well. And obviously the caller cannot hear me. Hello, can you hear me, caller? Okay, hello. Yes, you're on the air. I can hear your radio feedback.
Oh.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I can barely hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try to speak as loudly as I can. And
Well, I'll listen to the radio.
Well,
Is
yeah.
that interfering?
At times it will be interfering. So why don't you just say what you wish to say and then turn your radio up to monitor the call. How's that?
Okay. I talked to you yesterday, and I made it early this morning.
Okay.
And you had a whole smorgasbord, really, of topics.
Yeah, last night we did have quite a extended discussion on many different things. And of course we covered 2 hours in the evening as well as 2 hours in the morning. So yeah, there are many things that we have covered over that period of time. Yeah.
Well, a lot of times in the morning, like Sunday mornings, I used to listen to MSNBC on the weekend, you know?
Yes.
The national. And they're pretty factual about the what the Democrats are doing and, you know, what the Republicans are doing. So it's very educational, as well as your show. So I thought, no, I think local would be more interesting. so I decided to call you this morning.
Yes.
And, and yesterday, I don't know, I was kind of in and out. Were you asking what the name of the guy that the Republicans make pledges to, you know, before, when they go to Congress? Anyway, his name is Grover Norquist.
Yes.
Who you were talking about?
Yes, you are right. Norquist, the Norquist Pledge or something, yeah?
Oh, yes. It's terrible. And to me, it's almost treasonous, isn't it?
Well, it's their commitment to it's like what who was the other guy, the Speaker of the House previously, and he had the contract on America. Or the contract for America.
Oh, Gingrich?
Yeah, Newt Gingrich. You have a terrific memory.
For an old lady, yeah, not too bad. I'm going downhill. I had a concussion, and I was thinking, I gotta try to save my memory, you know. Nevertheless.
No, you seem to be doing very well.
Well, thank you. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope to live to be 100, but I don't know about that.
It's more the quality of life rather than the quantity, I guess.
That's right, and your brain is a major part of it, isn't it?
I think so. I think so.
And you're doing very well.
Well, no, I keep forgetting, like Norquist, I couldn't remember.
No,
Gingrich.
you have a variety of subjects, which I also am interested in, a variety of, you know, different things. I think that's what makes us a little bit more broad-minded, and maybe that's why my view is more democratic.
Oh, could be. That's interesting. When your interest covers many or spans over many different concerns, that then there's a tendency, you think, of being more liberal and therefore more Democrat rather than Republican side.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. And but the thing too is that somehow, when you talk about politics and all this, it's sort of, and as far as your values go, your morals, it's also religion, doesn't it?
I'm not convinced that it is religion, because I think even within religion, you have those who are very conservative, or the what do you call it? The literal translated of religion, and you have the much more liberal reading their religious text in terms of the changes, in terms of new technologies. You take, for example, the idea of slavery. You can find Christians who support slavery, and they will support it based on their biblical reading of it. And you have Christians who will be absolutely against slavery based on their interpretation of the Bible.
Yes.
So I don't think that religion necessarily determines a person's liberal leanings or conservative leanings. I think it's more what I've called the deep culture that a person comes from. And the deep culture is far more influential in how a person interprets different issues than religion does. And you're probably new to my explanation of deep cultures, so I'm going to take maybe a minute or two to explain it. I think there are certain cultures in every society and within families and within individuals. They develop a culture that is so deep that they themselves don't fully appreciate that they follow one or another culture until you call it to their attention. Now, within Hawaii, as an example, you have at least two deep cultures. One deep culture is based on domination, individualism, and exclusion. That's what I call the DIE, or the DIE deep culture. And that deep culture tells us how to operate an economic system, an education system, an ecological system, a health system, a political system, even a national security system. And it has to be built on domination, individualism, and exclusion. Even our legal system or judicial system is based on DIE. In the informal system in Hawaii, instead of domination, it's what the Hawaiians call olu olu, to be more comfortable with, to be more agreeable with, to try to work with one another instead of being who wins, who loses. Instead of individualism, it's more the idea of lokahi, of working together, of being a family, or being a team, or being a wider community, to be concerned about others rather than just the individual, elevating the individual. And instead of exclusion, it's always aloha, to incorporate, to include, bring in the newcomer, or even those people you disagree with. You try to incorporate them into the activities or into the groups that you are in. And that is what I call the Ola system: olu olu, lokahi, and aloha.
Well, that's interesting. I'm Japanese, so in the Japanese culture, I guess, but I'm third generation, so, I don't speak the language too much, and I don't understand it because the war, came along, and but my friends and I learned that you got to do things that are honorable. And honesty, and of course, sort of like the Hawaiians, where you gotta get along or teamwork or whatever. But to some degrees, I think, so, it just goes too far. And I says, no, but there's still freedom, and we must not follow too much, because sometimes we have to rely on our own selves in order for us to survive, society as it is. And so in that sense, I have a different religion from my parents.
Yeah.
And because as 4 years old, I started walking over to Sunday school, and I learned a lot about Christianity. And when those things are ingrained in you as a child, that you shouldn't lie and you shouldn't steal, it kind of stays with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think that forms part of that deep culture that I'm trying to describe, Joe.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to discuss. You were talking about Linda Lingo.
Yes.
And her dissociation, or trying to now, but for a while she was really, being an extremist. And even though she tries to dissociate herself, if she does go into Congress, gets elected, she will follow what the other Republicans are doing.
Yes.
Because de jure, I thought he was doing fine here, but when he went to Congress, he had to sign that, as you said, that pledge with Grover Norquist, and as about 98% of the Republicans have done. And so, so then these Republicans from each state are no longer individuals. They have to do and think the way they are told to think and vote.
Yeah. So it's not even a matter of the Republican platform. It's the Norquist pledge that trumps even that platform.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and this is why this nation is declining in that sense, where nothing can be done. And then, but what gets me too is that the Republicans, therefore, because they can't vote for taxes or things because of their pledge, are doing nothing. They're just obstructing.
Yeah.
So we're paying them to do absolutely nothing except to say no, and that doesn't work, And so I just think that here in Hawaii we must send Democratic delegates to Congress, the House and the Senate, because in order for the president to be able to accomplish things, he must have the Democratic votes, because the Republicans have already said from day one, from the day, not even at the inauguration, but at the time that Obama won the election, in that November previous to going into office.
The swearing in,
it's just been so terrible where they've become such extremists that America is suffering, and in order for a great nation to be great, we must have a strong middle class, because they're the ones that dominate. The population is all there, but when the population don't know what they want, things happen. For instance, like Germany, Hitler's Germany.
Okay.
People were wondering, how could the German people allow Hitler to do the things that he has done, and why did they put him into office? But in Germany, it was not a democracy. So everything was controlled, the news and what got out. So the people did not know the true facts. And this is what the Republicans are doing. They don't want the people to know the true facts of what they are doing in Congress. So they are playing the blame game. They are blaming Obama for everything, and that is not the case. So this is where it's dangerous, because that's what happened to Germany prior to World War II, and this is why they got into World War II in the first place.
I think...
so thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much for calling.
For taking my call.
Yes, you're welcome. Take care. Aloha. And if you would like to call, we still have a few more minutes in this hour of the program. At 7 o'clock, we'll go to news, and then we'll continue for another hour. So it gives you some time to decide whether or not you would like to call. Our telephone number here is 524-1080. The last caller had said that Germany was not a democratic society, and her reasoning behind that was because of the control of information, that there was really no free press, and there was so much repression that was going on. Now I'm adding to what she had said, that it was not really a democratic society. A democratic society is not necessarily whether or not the people are asked their choices and given a choice for the head of state or representatives. In Germany, I understand, and I'm not a good student of history or German history, but I do understand that Adolf Hitler was indeed elected to that position. Of course, an election doesn't say everything. You need to look behind how the election was conducted, whether or not there was a free press, and that whether or not the public was an informed public, very similar to a topic that you may put on the balloting question. And in such a referendum, if the public is not given the full information in support or against that particular issue, and if the media is controlled, then you really do not have an informed consent or an informed election. That doesn't mean that this is a democracy simply because an elective process was taken. It merely means that the elective process was bought or was controlled, which can now get back to the idea of super PACs, where you see so much money being poured in to social questions and to the elections that it's buying away or stealing a concept of democracy within that society. Let's go to our next caller. Aloha caller, you're on the air.
Good morning, Poca.
Yes, good morning.
I certainly appreciate your former caller's awareness. I appreciate it very much. Germany was a republic, the Weimar Republic, before Hitler wormed his way through the legal system with the use of thuggery. So that's my understanding of how Hitler got power, and then he got to the top using the system, but with force to get there, and then he used the system and was elected, and that's what we've seen happen here a couple of times. So thank you very much for right now, Poca.
Okay, thank you.
I can hear you on the radio, so I'll...
Well, that's terrific. I don't know if it is a person's telephone instrument, or it may be at different times. Maybe sunspots. But I'm glad to hear that you can hear me. Take care. Aloha. And if you would like to call, we still have a few more minutes, and you're welcome to call and share an opinion or information that you may have. And at times, you see, I don't have a research arm, and I can't get into a computer to go into, where is that, Wikipedia or other ways. So whenever a particular topic comes up, I may not be familiar in that area, and so I very much appreciate being corrected or advised by you folks. Telephone number here is 524-1080. All right. Other than the issues that we've just talked about, we haven't really dwelled on the subject of rail. And that's a subject that I think many of us have been keeping an eye on now that the Supreme Court has scored another win for the law as opposed to those who want to circumvent the law. The score is now, I guess, 2-0. 2 on the side of what the law requires, and 0 on the side of those who have circumvented and tried to shortcut the environmental concerns for the law. The first score was with Super Ferry, and with Super Ferry, it wasn't really a question of whether or not Super Ferry was good or bad, but should the government, in that case a legal administration, follow the law with regards to concerns for the environment. And when she attempted to circumvent that law and just push ahead Super Ferry and her administration going along with it, although there were some people who resisted it within the administration, finally when it hit the Hawaii Supreme Court, they put a stop to it. With regards to the rail, both the Lingle administration, it also appears that the Abercrombie administration, as well as the Hanneman administration, and more recently the Carlisle administration, and it probably goes back even to an earlier time. But those are the more recent administrations that closed its eyes or went along with the circumventing of the appropriate studies being done before beginning the construction or before beginning this project in the way that they had begun. As a result, it's costing millions of dollars, and they seem to take it, what is the word for it? Flippantly. $7 million here, $15 million for an earlier delay, and they're just chalking it up. Oh, don't worry about it. We're still within the budget. Well, you shouldn't be allowed to simply chalk it up. There should be some repercussions among those who are responsible for these kinds of throwaway costs. Do you realize that 15, now $7 more million, 22 is it 20? Yeah, $22 million. That amount of money was the total budget for what was CDBG funds back about 10 years ago, Community Development Block Grant funds. That was the total amount that the city and county received in a year about 10 years ago. Now, because city administration through the Department of Community Services handled these funds so badly, more recently they're down to approximately $6 million a year to be distributed throughout the city and county for either capital improvement projects or for programs for not-for-profit organizations to be carried out within the city. That's a kind of waste that has occurred just within a snap of a finger, it seems, with regards to rail. And no one is railing against that kind of stuff. And it's a shameful conduct of what the city is going through. Now, we may say, well, it's fortunate that we're finally getting rid of these folks, Peter Carlisle as well as Mufi Hanneman, who has not been nominated in the primary to be running for U.S. Senate. But it's important that we not only pinpoint these particular individuals, but take a look at this process by which people are committing so much waste. And it's not only in the $22 million that will be paid to Kiewit and other contractors, but in the underlying costs that we have incurred for starting a project before following the appropriate laws. I'll talk more about that in the next hour after the news.
nanapua o Hawaii Kupa ama hope o ka aina Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino Pala pala anunu me ka paka Pane mai Hawaii moku o ke ave Koku ana honoa o Pilani Ka ko'o mai kaua i o mano Pa'aku me ke oni o ka kuhi hewa Aolea e kau i ka pulima Maluna o ka pepa o ka enemi Po o hui ai nā ku ai hewa I ka pono sivila a o ke kanā